But and I would go and then sit there with the speech therapist, and all they're telling you is, if you feel like you're going to stutter, slow down, or and it was just the most basic
Right.
of his. It was like things that I've already realized myself. That that helps.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely. I feel like I
Wow.
got zero out of it, zero help.
You are crazy.
I ain't been this high off Perkins in a long time. I ain't been this high off Perkins in a long time. I took 230s and a half of a third one. I feel like I can see everything with my third eye. Feel like I'm floating, see the world from a bird's eye view.
All right, so I think a good first question on our second episode would be one I've asked to a couple people recently. I just kind of came up with it. I wanted to ask you this because I have absolutely no idea what you would answer. But that would be, what is your biggest source of anxiety at the moment? Past few weeks or month or whatever.
At the moment, huh? See, normally I would say, I don't feel like I'm a very anxious person,
I don't think you are either.
but I was recently informed by others who observed me from outside that I do have anxieties that are very apparent. And I did agree with the one that was brought up, which is like if I have to make a phone call or talk to somebody that I'm unfamiliar with about a topic that I am not 100% familiar with. If I'm going to come
So the
off
topic-
looking dumb, that's what it comes down to. If I'm going to
Okay.
come off as like asking a dumb question or something, that gives me a whole lot of anxiety. I will put off making a simple phone call, like to make an appointment or something, for as long as I can, because the idea of doing that and like having to ask a stupid question or something is just gives me a whole lot of anxiety. I hate it.
I mean, it seems like with like a doctor appointment, like what would you really have to ask that would make you seem dumb?
I don't know. Like in my head, it's like if I'm not going to come up with the right way of asking a question or anything that would paint me in a light that, in my mind, is not the best possible light, then it makes me anxious about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. It's a very self-centered viewpoint. That I'm that concerned about how others view me. I shouldn't be that way. That's not a
Yeah, I
healthy
mean,
thing, but
it's
that's the way
definitely
it is.
yeah, it is a mindset, but
Yeah. And I've worked on it over time. I've gotten better with it. I used to be a lot worse. Now I've gotten a little better with it, just like by trying to change my mindset. It's like, you know what? What does it matter if you come off dumb? They talk to 100 people a day. They're not going to remember. Oh, that one guy, was asked
Yeah.
a stupid question. That's ridiculous. So
Right.
I should view it as being ridiculous and not worry about it. And I've made strides toward it, I believe.
It is strange to hear though, because I feel like you've always not cared about what anyone thinks. I feel like that's always been your thing.
I've made a conscious effort that way, but that's because
Like
I've
in
made
other areas.
because I've made a conscious effort. I've improved with that. Absolutely.
But like not with just the phone call thing, but like with like just being out in public and talking to people and like what you're wearing. Like it seems like you've kind of, not necessarily as a kid, but just for most of your adult life, you've always had that where you just don't care. So it's weird just to hear that, with the phone call thing is so different from,
Yeah.
because it doesn't feel like you've had to work on that, like with being in public, and it feels very natural, unless it's not.
Maybe it appears natural because I've come a long way with it. But like even the whole appearance thing, that's something I had to work at. That still be self-conscious about it, but I've tried to put myself in the mindset of who cares. If you don't look the way other people want you to look, what does it matter?
Right.
And because I remember there was like a turning point in my late probably late teens where I just all of a sudden, like, it occurred to me, I was like, what? This makes no difference whatsoever if I look stupid or if I don't look stupid. And then,
So it was pretty young.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense then.
It started pretty young, the changeover
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I remember it was soon after that, somehow I acquired hospital scrubs because I always thought, you know what, that would be super comfortable. Like I can't imagine wearing something more comfortable than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Would it be comfortable?
for like, it turns out they're not that great.
Yeah, it's kind of
But-
like plastic.
Yeah, but at that time, before I had some, I was just like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And especially for like playing frisbee because it's it's non-binding,
Yeah.
And so I got a pair, and this was right after I made the realization of like, well, who cares what I'm wearing or what people think. I got a pair of pink scrubs. And like I've seen pictures of me wearing them playing frisbee, and I should have cared is what it comes down to, because I looked ridiculous. But I was making a conscious effort to not care what other people think of me.
Yeah.
So I tried to push the limits of looking ridiculous, apparently.
I mean, what? I don't see how scrubs could be more comfortable than just like a hoodie and sweatpants.
Well, you would think well, I now know sweatpants are far more comfortable than scrubs, but just the non-binding, how baggy they are, it turns out that, I mean, the way they're cut and everything, like, you don't have as much flexibility as you would think in them, because you don't have to be flexible if you're a nurse or a doctor wearing scrubs. You don't have to worry about being flexible. It just seemed to me at the time they're so loose that they have to be extremely comfortable. Mm-hmm. But like you said, the material they're made out of is stiff and uncomfortable, and even the cut of them is not very flexible, even though it looks like it would be.
Mm-hmm. There always are those times where like if I wore somewhere, even if time I wasn't like trying to like look good, I was just like, oh, I'll just wear this hoodie together with whatever, and I didn't think it was really that stylish, but then look back and it's like, wow, I really should have thought more about that.
Well, that's where Micah comes in and tells you what you're wearing is stupid. You need to change.
Sometimes the advice is helpful, but I feel like most times it's more like opinionated and based on what she just likes herself.
Yeah, but I mean, she definitely steers me in a more realistic direction, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, you won't embarrass mom as much if you wear this instead of this.
I've never seen your wardrobe as that embarrassing. I mean, the one thing that I always comes to mind is that, like, it's like
As embarrassing?
yeah.
Oh.
That it's like it's like a sweater, but it's a hoodie, and it's like dark green and brown, like mixed. It's very like pothead vibes,
Sweater. Oh, you mean like a jerga?
I think.
Yeah, it's very real open weave. How else can I kind of describe it? It has a kangaroo pocket in front, and that looks bad. Really, I thought that looked great in that.
I've always thought it just looked very just kind of trashy, kind of like, I don't know.
Wow, this is rocking my world. I thought in my head it was like, oh, that's a great look, because it's so comfortable.
I get where you're going for, but like other than that, I've never really seen anything that's been like, oh my god. I don't know. I just never.
Well, most of the things would be, oh my god, I've gotten rid of over the years because either Micah or your mom, saying like, don't wear that. That looks stupid.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, so with the self-conscious thing, I know obviously we kind of are in the same boat with that. We actually have the same stuttering problem. Mm-hmm. Obviously, yours is pretty much, I would say, faded away.
For the most part, but not completely. Yeah, I still fall into it.
Yeah.
Fall back into it.
What age did you like notice? Because it probably happens so gradually you don't really notice it. But like, what age was like, oh wait a minute, I don't have that problem anymore.
Oh wow. Definitely at least in the 20s.
Okay, I thought it was earlier actually.
No, I was definitely in my 20s by the time I started like not
Having to consider it when you're going somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
like even now I still, if I again in a unfamiliar situation with somebody that I'm unfamiliar with, if I'm unsure of what questions they're going to ask and what I'm going to have to answer, then immediately the stuttering comes right back.
So
again.
yeah, tied with the anxiety there. That's how it is for me too. But like I mean I don't think I've heard you stutter in a long time. Like it's so rare.
It's
I honestly could not pick out like a
Really?
real stuttering. Like I can't say it. I've never heard you do that
Good.
unless you try to like get around words like I do. But I don't. It doesn't seem like you do.
definitely that I do.
That. You do that.
Yeah, I do
Oh.
get around words, but by choosing words that
never
are
knew that.
easier or whatever. Yeah, that and slowing down. I'll consciously slow down, and choose my words.
Because that's kind of like
slower,
the
and that
taboo.
helps.
That's like the taboo. Like, oh, just slow down. But it actually does help.
It works for me anyway.
Yeah, it's just a problem when people think that's like the cure, and it's so not.
There is no cure.
Sometimes slowing down is going to do anything, but oftentimes it actually will be effective. So were you in like speech or anything in school, or oh, you were in speech?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I give it zero effect.
Yeah,
I thought it was just ridiculous. I mean, it was,
probably less advanced than it is now. I'm guessing. Yeah.
I mean, my memory of it was, I think it was just in 6th grade. And I don't know who realized that, hey, maybe we should give him some speech therapy because this stuttering thing, So it was in school. Somehow it was approached. I was approached, by a teacher. It was like, hey, we're going to do we're going to send you to the speech therapist. For on a Wednesday, and
Like every other
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And you'll go there for like 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it was down in the pod where the principal's office was and stuff. And it's like, okay, I didn't ask.
So you
I didn't
get
ask
like
for this.
you didn't get
or anything,
like
but
like an IEP or anything like.
what's an IEP?
I think it's just if a student has any sort of class that's extra, that like speech or like I forget what.
No, I was
Like
the only one that went, and it was during regular class. All of a sudden, I would be excused to, okay, Eric, you can go down to the office. They would say, or something like that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say you're going to go to the speech therapist now in front of the class. At least they were conscious enough that, hey, we shouldn't say that in front of everybody. But then I would go and then sit there with the speech therapist, and all they're telling you is, if you feel like you're going to stutter, slow down, or. And it was just the most basic
Right.
of his. It was like things that I've already realized myself. That that helps.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely. I feel like I got zero out of it. Zero help.
So they didn't have any like techniques and.
Not that I recall. Other than slow down was the only one that even I have any recollection of. That's the only recommendation they made that I remember was slow down.
Man.
Which I already realized long ago that slowing down helps.
Yeah. Yeah, like with my experience, I was never in speech in in-person school. I only did it in online school. But like I enjoyed it. Like I felt like it was helping when I was doing it. But now that I'm graduated, I don't have it anymore. I don't see any difference at all now. Like I feel like I've even been worse. No, I'm not gonna say
Really?
worse. I'm
Okay.
I'm not gonna say worse, but like
That's
just completely the same from when I was in high school. So, and now like I think it's definitely more advanced now from what you're saying, like with the techniques and like it's all about like what part of your mouth's making the sound. Like is it a throat sound, the front of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, and there's pretty like kind of interesting stuff. And different techniques for it, which do help, but I haven't used. I'm not sure if, at least last year, I've like tried to use one of the techniques because I either forgot how to do it or just forget to use it because I don't trust that they're gonna work all the time. And now, because you choose between like, okay, do I want to get around this word or do I want to try and use a technique? And then if you try, it doesn't work. You're just like, damn it, I should have not brought it up. Or like if you're having like a conversation with someone in public, and like I've learned to just don't try to give extra, like don't try to then ask them a question too, or like what. Which I don't want to say I do that though, because like with people my age it's different. Like with people my age I can have a back and forth conversation and like not worry about it, and like, okay, like I do want to continue this and like ask them stuff too and add on to things. But with like an adult I don't know, or like at a job or something, I just learn like don't try to add stuff on it, which like you're not supposed to avoid it,
Right.
but it's just I don't want to get stuck in a situation where I can't say something and it's just completely embarrassing. But did you ever have like a certain time where you just like completely could not say something, and like something that you have to say, like your name or your like what time do you leave at work, and then then you have to actually tell them like, dude, I can't,
Right. I have
gonna...
to answer this somehow.
Like where you've had to actually let them know about your issue just to get past this situation.
I definitely remember that there were times when I would say to the person, not, I have a stuttering problem.
Yeah.
But I don't recall there ever a time when like I must answer something and was not able to, could not get the correct word out. I don't think it's ever been that intense. I don't think.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just very successful at avoiding those situations.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at it too, but what was I gonna say? So for the most part, people have been pretty accepting.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
That's been
I've never had any negative
Yeah.
confrontations with it.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. I mean, some negative as in like I didn't tell them I had a stuttering problem, but like their reaction to it. But that's very rare. And then if I do let them know, they're always super nice about it. And even though it's still so just embarrassing, everyone's usually pretty nice about it.
Yeah, because even though you always hear that kids can be so cruel, especially at certain ages, like middle school, I guess, or junior high.
Yeah.
But even kids around me, I don't remember them ever like teasing me real harshly or anything, like really making me feel bad about it. I don't remember that ever happening, not even in one instance.
Yeah, I feel like some kids were just kind of assholes about it, but nothing that stands out to me. I can't remember like a specific time, because I don't want to say they were totally innocent, but I can't pull out a specific thing that really like impacted me.
That's what happens when you live in your head. We think it's this big thing. Apparently, to others, it's not a big thing.
I mean,
this person stutters, whatever.
It's not, but it still is awkward when you stutter, because I recently encountered another person in the wild who has a lot worse than I do actually, and like it is awkward when like it's just inherently awkward, no matter how bad it is. You can't get around that. Even if the person is like pure good intentions or really kind about it, it just is so awkward and embarrassing, So I think that's what I'm afraid of. It's not like, are they going to accept me? It's like,
it's a fear of that situation coming.
You still know that they're like, they have to cringe, because I'm cringing too, know?
Yeah. Well, I remember one thing that made an impact on me. I was trying to remember, as you were telling that story, I was trying to remember the guy's name, but I can't remember it. there's an actor who had a severe stuttering problem, and
I might have heard about it.
you would think that why in the world would you go into acting if you have a bad stuttering problem?
Yeah.
But he made a career of it. I mean, his shtick almost was how bad his stuttering problem was.
Who was this?
That's just it. I cannot remember who this person is, but I do remember he was doing a stand-up thing, and just talking
as a character in a movie, or just on his own?
Just on his own.
Okay.
And I guess he was. It wasn't a stand-up. He was a guest on a talk show, and he was talking to the interviewer, and he's telling them he was going to tell them a story, because I guess the stuttering thing topic was broached a little bit, you know, and then he decided, okay, I'm going to tell you this joke, and he told a joke that is like a stutterer's nightmare. The joke is about three rabbits. Foot is the name of one first rabbit. The second rabbit's name is Foot, and the third rabbit's name is Foot. And yeah, and it was hilarious seeing him trying to get this whole story. It took a long time for him to get through it, but him stuttering is what made it funny, because he was having so much difficulty getting the physical words out.
Right. And he was doing it like he wanted to.
Yeah, he could not, he wasn't putting on an act. It was, he has a stuttering problem, and he's he's telling a story.
But he's doing it on purpose, though.
He was telling the story on purpose because he knows that,
it'd be funny.
That this is a story that a stutterer is going to have a super hard time with. And that's what made the story a much better story. And after seeing that, I was just like, wow, that's actually really cool that he has a stuttering problem, yet he decided to put himself in a public light, being an actor, first of all, and then to go on a talk show and to like purposely do a joke that he's going to stumble over and have the hardest time getting out. And it's just like, who cares? Like, to have his attitude is the kind of attitude that I want to have about the stuttering. It's just, so what? If I stumble, if it takes a long time to get this out, then I do, and whatever. And I kind of like tried to consciously adopt his viewpoint after seeing that. So whoever the hell that was,
I'll find it. I'll put on a picture. So he just played like roles of people who stuttered, or
if I could remember, no, he didn't. Well, whatever role that he'd be playing, he's gonna stutter. In the role, I don't think a role was written for a character that stutters necessarily.
Yeah.
It would help if I could remember who the heck this was, because I have no recollection. Because I was thinking, for some reason, I had it in my head that was Jimmy Stewart, but I don't think it was Jimmy Stewart. He didn't have a severe stuttering problem, I don't think. And I don't know why his name is associated with that with me, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody else, and I cannot remember who it was.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Mel Tillis, I think, was possibly his name.
Mel Tillis?
I think his name was Mel Tillis. And I don't think he was an actor. I think he's a singer.
Oh, okay.
The more I think about things, they're like, wow, this is completely turning around. But I'm pretty sure he's a singer. And it was remarkable. He could sing and have zero stuttering issues.
I've heard of people being able to do that, yeah. Which definitely makes sense. I mean, like if I do like karaoke or something, if I'm singing in front of other people, it's not like I'm not gonna stutter. Like I probably will still stutter. But if I'm singing, I mean, obviously if I'm singing alone, I'm not gonna stutter. But I could definitely see how that makes it easier. Like it really does.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about singing. If it's the cadence that helps, or
I think it's the fact that you're already turning your voice on before you start the sound. Because I remember that one of the strategies in speech was like kind of start like and then try to so you're already kind of warmed up, like, or it just flows more. It's all about like the easy onset, like the light light contact or with some of the names. With like how hard your tongue touches the top of your mouth. That's like the light contact, and then easy onset's kind of like, well, obviously, you know, you want to try to be very smooth with it, but yeah, I remember the one with because she did say in my speech therapist, we're talking about people who can sing completely fine. But I still was impressed that he can sing in front of people completely fine.
Right.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I never heard of him.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to look that up.
Yeah.
Especially if we can find him doing that routine and him doing that joke.
Yeah, I remember, like, I feel like even if, you know, he's doing a joke and, you know, like, he's consenting to this and everything, I feel like I just wouldn't. I just feel that pain so much. I was like, it's hard to watch, you know, because it's inherently awkward for anybody to watch, but then especially me having the experience of it, it's like, oh man, that's just so hard to listen to. But yeah, that's cool though.
Well, all I can say is it helped me
That's good, yeah.
because it helped me to adopt his attitude towards it.
But so, in your 20s or whatever it was, it literally just kind of faded away? Like, did you kind of notice it was going, or did you notice after it was already
Oh,
gone?
no, it was a long process, and it just kind of slowly, slowly went, or not went away. I was slowly able to control it better.
What would you attribute to that? Like, were you practicing anything, or were you just kind of literally just naturally?
Just
happened?
naturally. And like being put in those situations and the main thing that helped me, the only strategy that I feel really worked for me was just slowing down. So I just practiced that more and more and more.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it started to improve.
Yeah. I find, like, in just conversation, I'm pretty good. Like, especially like, or if at work or in public or something, I can talk to someone like a back and forth pretty well, and not have to think about it. But when it's like I have to give someone my name or give someone my email, or, you know, then that's different. That's where the struggle is, where it's like I can't change my name, which I've done before. But, you know, yeah. Like, what was one of the most, like, one of the things words that you've changed that was like, ooh, I just got away with that. Like, that was pretty risky.
Oh, I can't remember one off the top of my head. I know that there's definitely words that you feel it's coming up, like, you know, this is going to be part of this sentence. And what do? Do I attempt it, or do I try to change the whole structure of the sentence to get around this? There's definitely been times like that, but I can't remember anything specific.
Because obviously I told you this, but for the podcast, I remember at camp about 2 years ago, I actually literally had a fake name the entire time. Well, for half the people, like, some people knew my real name. I don't know how. Either I told them, or they knew it from like like the list, the log of who was there. And then other people, like, I remember I think it was like we were doing like the morning thing where it's like you have to go down to the one structure, I don't know what you call it, and then like exercises and like stretch and everything. And they asked what my name was, and I just gave them, like, I was like, shit, I'm not gonna be able to do it, so I just said it, that, you know.
What'd you use?
Max.
That's
always my go-to, because it's close, M.A., but for some reason I can just say especially it's because it isn't the one I have to say.
Right. And one syllable's always going to be easier.
Yeah. But yeah, for certain people, the entire week thought my name. And then when certain people found out, like, wait a minute, what? He just called you Marcus. It's like, I have people call me Max. You know, I didn't think I would have to explain it, but yeah, I do have. So then it's like, oh, this guy has two names. It's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing.
I've never had that happen. I never, like, get to the point of, like, you know what, I'm going to change my name. It's easier.
Yeah, because it like, I feel like Max works because I could see like someone being named Marcus, people call them Max. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like rub it off as like, well, okay, well, sorry, I told you Max
Absolutely.
because I'm used to telling people my name's Max, but actually, you know, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But
Has there been other times when you've used that?
yes, but not like that serious. I mean, the one was it was our dog's name. I changed his name to Max because I was walking him the one day, and then someone asked what his name was, and I said, Max. Because like that doesn't matter at all. Like
Right.
I'm never gonna talk to this person again. They don't need to know what Jake's name is. But I don't think there wasn't anything. Other times I've said my name was Max that was like pretty serious. Just like small, just like people I'm not gonna
Right.
interact with again.
Yeah.
I can't pull it off the top of my head.
But Max is easier than Jake. Just
Yeah.
because you know
It's because I don't.
because you're forced to say Jake.
Yeah, it's because I don't have to say Max, because it's just like it's in the moment. Like, oh shit, Max. But if my name was actually Max, I think it'd be hard
Yeah.
because I can't change it.
Yeah.
So then I would end up saying my name is Marcus, and it's actually Max.
That's a great strategy, though. Just to have that in your back pocket that I can just throw out another name.
I've been told it's not a good strategy, but
Well, it helps you get through,
yeah,
you know. Yeah. I mean, the lesser of evil, you know.
yeah, yeah. Because whenever I tell people about it, they're always like, oh my god, like, well, mom, whenever I let her know or something, it's like, oh my god, that's why'd you do that? I'm like, well, what do you want me to? What you want me to just like tell the guy, hey, I can't tell you my name, especially like what if I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
If you're in that situation,
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
it's just so awkward.
I can't stand there and be like, I can't tell you my name right now.
Yeah,
You can't do
which
that.
I've had to do many times, and they're always
That's why I think that strategy of having another name you can just like throw out, I think that's a great strategy.
yeah, it just doesn't work in all situations. So
No. If you're in a job interview, you
Yeah.
can't give them the wrong name, but
yeah, and they already know your name, but yeah, that was a good stuttering topic because I never actually had another stutterer on because I'm always like I've always like wanted to really talk to someone who has it, either as bad as me or worse than me, but like you don't have that problem right now, so it's hard to like I always like oh yeah, you did were a stutterer.
that should be hope for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I thought that you were like in high school when it started to go away, but now that you said that you were in your 20s, that seems better and like okay, that seems more realistic. Because right now I don't see it going away at all. I don't get how I could just stop thinking about it, and just like oh, I forgot about stuttering. I don't know how that's gonna happen, but I don't know. I'm able to get through most things, which isn't really
Right.
that motivational, but.
You've had a lot of years developing strategies of how to get around things.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about topics for this one. I think the main one would be like travel. When you've lived in many different places around the world. Not too many, but
Right.
a couple. Which most people haven't even gone out of the country. So I think that means something. And you lived in various different places around the U.S. because of your dad being in the Air Force. So like, as far as places you've been so far, what was your favorite? Either living there or just like a vacation?
I can choose between any place I've been.
Yeah, you're probably gonna say the Western U.S. like our trip, but I don't know if that's what you're gonna say. So
I would say of any place that I've ever been, no matter where in the world, I would still the places I've been because there's places I haven't been to that I might say
yeah,
I'd take that above it. But places I've been, I would still say you're right. The Southwest, the desert Southwest of the United States, especially Utah.
and like I know obviously why you like it, but like what is it about that or that area? Because there's the obvious things with the mountain biking and the the weather is nicer, but like what's the what is about the vibe that really like that you really enjoy?
Well, the aesthetic of it, I find that really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The colors, the ruggedness of it, I find an attraction in that. I don't know why that appeals to me, but it just does.
Yeah.
Other than all the stuff you can do there, that's a very, very strong attraction also.
Yeah, definitely.
But
it really is the
find it
best
beautiful.
place to mountain bike in the world, I think.
As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
Definitely. With just the
the amount of variety you got pretty much everything there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify because you had said all the different places you lived, including outside of the U.S. I've never lived outside of the United States. The places that I've lived, like actually lived in a house, not visiting. Those were all in the United States. Those like Massachusetts and California and North Dakota and Pennsylvania. But I've visited outside of the United States, like for a couple weeks at a time or a month at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call that living there.
Yeah, I guess I was imagining the Taiwan, which was a month.
That was a month.
Yeah.
That was the longest I was out of the country.
Yeah.
And that's not very long, really.
I've heard really bad things about taking like a long trip like that to like a third world country for obvious reasons. So was your experience mostly positive, or was it more like, okay, this half it sucked, but I'm glad I went type of thing?
I would say I was 90% glad I went, and maybe 10%, if that, sucked.
Oh, wow.
It was challenging because it stretched me, because I was only 18. I was right out of high school.
Yeah.
And this would have been, I'm looking back on it, I'm surprised that I actually did it, because I went by myself. And
You went by yourself?
yeah.
Like, it wasn't like an organization, like a group,
Well,
or
it was through a group. It was through a missionary organization that our church was affiliated with. I knew some people that were missionaries in that affiliation, and they told me that hey, you can do a short-term mission thing, in Taiwan, and it'll be like a month long, and you'll be doing this and this and this, and it's the opportunity is available if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, that sounds very interesting, So I checked into it, and oh yeah, this is realistic. We got to figure out how to pay for it, and then turns out like the church will sponsor you, and they'll pay for your airfare, and okay, well.
But so if you were
That sounds
going
great then.
for a mission trip, how are you going alone?
Well, that's just it.
It's like
I got my tickets and boarded the plane and flew to Taiwan, the one we're talking about now, and got off the plane. And I don't remember. Let me think. Did he meet me at the airport, or did I have to meet him somewhere?
okay, that's what I was guessing. Like they were already there, and you're just meeting them.
The missionary that I was going to be staying with for that month, I think he met me at the airport. And then it was just like that whole month I'm staying in this small apartment that he has, and like sleeping on a couch, and he has a few other guys that he has there living with him. People, his ministry was all to like disadvantaged people, guys that were kicked out of their house for whatever reason, and they were living on the street, so he was giving them a place to stay while they're turning
People in
their
Taiwan,
life around.
or people from the
Taiwanese
mission?
people, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so I got to know them, even though none of them could speak English. He was he was from Canada, but all the Taiwanese people that lived with him could not speak English. So we had this language barrier, and looking back on it, I would have thought, yeah, that would be really difficult. but it wasn't. We got along just fine without being able to speak each other's language. And so that's one situation that I was put in that I'm surprised that I was okay with. Because
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Even considering doing that. Holy shit.
the idea of like me getting on a plane by myself and just flying to the other side of the world, and that aspect of it was like, really, I can't believe that I actually did that. That's is completely not me, because that's putting yourself in a unfamiliar situation where you're going to have to ask dumb questions because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
You've never flown anywhere I think that was the first time I was on a plane. Yeah, I can't think of a time when I would have been on a plane before that. So I'm going to have to, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm going to have to be asking people questions.
Oh my gosh.
And looking back on it, it's like, really? Did I really do this? Because that's not me. Putting myself in that kind of situation does not sound like me at all. But I did it, and it was a good situation. And while I was there, I was able to, he had this little tiny moped, little 50-cylinder, 50cc moped that was his sole transportation. And it was in a big city, and there were times after I was there, like a couple of weeks, the whole time I was there, the only way we got around was the two of us on this tiny little moped. And he was a bigger guy. He was easily like 220 or something. So he and I on this little tiny, and it is a little 50cc moped
God.
is small. So the two of us like tooling around on this, and then after a couple of weeks, for some reason I can't imagine I would have asked him. Maybe he must have offered. He was like, "Hey, if you ever want to go somewhere, by yourself, you're welcome to use the moped." And I actually said yes. I've never driven a moped before in my life.
And aren't the roads
I'm
insane in those cities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The traffic is crazy. It's dog eat dog. I mean, and to do that on this little tiny moped, never having driven a moped before, in a city, never having lived in a city before,
Yeah.
all these completely unfamiliar things to me, and me just saying, yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to go to wherever and on the other side of the city. And so he gave me directions. You're going to turn on this road, turn this road, turn this road, so that I could actually get there, because I would have no clue. There's no GPS back in that time,
Yeah.
or anything like that. And I don't have a map, a Rand McNally map that I can just reference. But he wrote down the directions for me, and I took off, and I went. I got to where I was going, and got back, and it was a cool experience, and it really stretched me, because I would have told you ahead of time that there's no way in the world I would have done that. No. But I did it, and looking back, I was like, I was so glad that I did.
Man, that is just... What do you think it was, like, with you being not having much fear about it and being 18? Like, what do you think
I had
that
fear about it,
was?
but I didn't. I was probably naive enough to not have enough fear about it. Is probably
Right.
how it happened.
Yeah. Naive as in, like, what a third world
Oh,
country
what
is
could
really...
possibly happen? That
Yeah.
kind of naivety.
Oh, man, I don't have that.
Tons of stuff could have happened.
Going to the other side of the city by yourself is just ridiculous.
Yeah, in a city you can't read the street signs because they're in a different language. Looking back on it, like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I actually put myself in that situation and did it.
That's insane. Wow. So that was your first time being out of the country.
Mm-hmm. I mean, every time except for I did 3 trips down to Mexico.
I forgot about the Mexico.
Yeah, and that we drove these school buses. We had this organization was donated school buses, and they would fix them up and get them in good working order. And then the organization is also is gifted things, all kinds of appliances and clothing and you name it. And then they take these things and they organize them and clean them up and get them in good working condition, and then twice a year, I think, they load up all these school buses with all this stuff and drive them down to Mexico. And then they have a connection down there that's just on the U.S. side of the border where they can store stuff, and then they bring stuff in piecemeal over the next 6 months. Because apparently, because of customs and whatever, they don't want to bring a whole load of stuff in one big load at a time. They try to do it piecemeal. So they use their connection down there, and he organizes when to bring things in and where to go with them and everything, including the buses. Because you would leave all the buses down there with him also, and then he would find people that need the bus, and then he would donate the buses one at a time to different organizations or people that need them down there. And then we'd all come back on one bus. We'd save one bus that's designated to come back, and then we'd all, because we would have, like, the first time we went down, it was like 17 buses.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so there's 2 people on each bus, and so that's 34 people that are coming back, and then all 34 people loading into one bus on the way back. And then while you're down there, the way they would organize it, they'd take all those people and put them on that one bus and drive into Mexico, and then they find a place that needs work, needs help with something. Like that first time we went to this real small fishing village on the Gulf of Mexico that was hit by a hurricane, like within the last 6 months or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was destroyed, and so they needed help rebuilding the most basic things, like shelter for them to live in and stuff. So we went down there and we built dwellings for them, and then for like 2 weeks, and then you come back. And that was one of the I really enjoyed those Mexico trips. Those were cool. But all the other ones, like went to the Philippines and went to Hungary, all those I did by myself. I didn't have a partner with me. There was a group that I was meeting when I got there, but getting the tickets and organizing, like the Hungary one. Like, there was nobody even meeting me at the airport when I got there. I was just supposed to figure out how to get to this place where we're doing the work. I'm supposed to just figure it out when I get there.
Oh my God. And
I'm in a foreign country, and the majority of people aren't English speaking, and I don't speak Hungarian at all. So again, I put myself in a situation that, looking back on, I can't believe that I actually was willing to put myself in that situation, because being unfamiliar and looking like you don't know what you're doing, that is like the worst thing for me. I never, ever want to be in a situation where I look like I don't know what I'm doing. And that is completely putting myself in that situation. And yet I did it over and over and over again. So, and I would still say it was all very, very positive situations.
So would you say overall that you didn't consider that anxiety going into it? Like, you did think, or did you kind of had that in the back of your mind and just kind of
it was always there.
Tried to shove it away.
You mean like before I left, kind of thing? Yeah, it was always there. It's like, okay, well, now you realize that when you get there, you're gonna have to figure everything out, and and apparently my mindset at the time was just, but you're capable enough. You'll be able to figure it out. You'll be all right. Just go for it.
I wish I could think like that. That's,
Well, actually, the Hungry one, I was supposed to be going with somebody, so that idea was way more comfortable. Right. And then that person backed out at the very last minute. Oh my God! So I couldn't at that point just back out, because I don't have a reason. That person had a reason to back out, and now it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm going by myself. Ah, crap! I'd better not do it like that. But here we go again. is still turned out to be a positive experience, a growing experience. I feel sometimes like I have a unrealistic at times positive outlook on things. Like other people would look at the same situation and be like, well, that just really sucks. That's not worth it or whatever. But yet I will look at that same situation and have a positive view of it.
Mm-hmm.
More so than is realistic, maybe. And that's a fault that I'm very glad that I have.
Yeah, I don't want to say that's necessarily a fault.
Yeah, that was
but
the wrong word to use.
but like, what is like a certain thing that you would be referencing there? Like,
Oh, wow.
like something that just genuinely sucks. Like,
Going through the divorce. You know,
you see that's a positive thing? Well, I guess 'cause
there is positive that came out of it.
it was positive.
Absolutely.
It was positive to get divorced.
Right.
But
Because like looking back on it, I was like, you know what? That is like the best possible thing that could have happened to me. I never would. I didn't see that at the time or for years. But looking back on it, that's the absolute best thing that could have happened to me.
how was that?
Because she was a person that could push my buttons. She could find what would frustrate me the most and then concentrate on that and like push on that until, you know, I'm just like, I could see red. It's so frustrated and angry. And like nobody in my life prior to that or since that. I mean, she was a master at finding that and pushing it to the absolute limit. And if I would have stayed with her my whole life, which I never would have broken my vows. I would have stayed married to her my entire life, no matter what it was like. I just know that that's my attitude. My attitude is, you know, once I make that vow, then that vow is
Right. Yeah.
is binding. Period. And so I would have stayed married to her through everything. And I can just imagine if 2.5 years was like that, and it was kind of like that when we were engaged for 2.5 years before we even got married, and she was able to push my buttons even then. So stringing that out and saying, okay, now you're going to have 80 years of this, you know, that is way more positive to go through. I'm glad that she was the one who walked out and wanted the divorce, and I tried to block it for as long as I could, because I thought, no, this is the best thing is to work together and work things out.
So there was talk of getting a divorce before she actually left?
No, zero. No.
Because I thought you would.
There wasn't even talk of like she's unhappy or whatever.
Right. So then, what do you mean? You said that you tried to push back on it if you didn't.
Because she, after she left, she was saying, "Okay, I want the divorce. I don't want to even talk about any reconcilement or, you know, working on things or whatever. You know,
I thought it was like
about whatsoever." So I didn't sign the divorce papers.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, you have to have both people sign them. So she signed hers and got sent over to me, and I just wouldn't sign them for as long as I could put it off, because I'm figuring she's going to come around eventually, you know, and this is what I need to do. I need to be there for her when things turn around. So I didn't, and then there's a legal time limit where, okay, if you don't sign it within this amount of time, she can get the divorce regardless.
Right.
So then it was nearing that time, because it was at least 2.5 years that had gone by, and eventually, you know, that inevitable time is coming up where she's going to be able to get divorced anyway. And then her father called me and said, "Hey, you know, she's having a really hard time with this, and you know, will you just sign the papers?
I think I know one thing I definitely wanted to touch on that we're not gonna have time for, unfortunately, but with the whole divorce situation and you know what was kind of the mental health toll. So of course I know there was one. We can't go into much detail, but like, would you classify it as anxiety or like depression? You know, effects.
I've never felt like I have ever had what I would call real depression, but I was.
Well, it doesn't have to be a chemical imbalance to be depression. Like it doesn't have to be a clinical disorder to have to be depressed for a certain amount of time.
Right. That's where I don't have a good definition in my head of what it is. That's why I never thought of myself. I could change my mood if I needed to, you know, at any point in
But
that.
back then you couldn't.
If I needed to, I could, because I still functioned. I was still able to.
What doesn't mean you weren't depressed though.
Yeah, that's true.
It sounds like you were, from what I've heard. I've heard a little bit, but
well, the whole idea of like being self-destructive.
oh yeah,
that's probably you know, that should tell me you were depressed, but
yeah, it doesn't mean you had
I didn't feel like it at the time. I just felt
it doesn't mean you had a clinical disorder. It just means that you were depressed at that time.
Yeah.
But like, what was? Because obviously, you know, the whole side of like, not just the depression, but also the like, you just tore your heart out. You know, like what was kind of what was kind of the healing process with that?
It was a long one.
Yeah.
Because I had pretty much resolved that I'm never going to get married again. You know, I had no desire to ever.
It makes sense.
That.
Yeah.
It took years and years and years to. Like I didn't date again for like 8 years after that.
8 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Not even like talk to girls.
I talked to girls and everything because I had interaction with them a lot.
But in that way.
In that way, no, yeah.
Wow, 8 years.
Because I knew that I didn't want
To get married, yeah.
that level of relationship again to get married. Yeah.
8 years is insane. So like you didn't really turn to, I get the impression you didn't really turn to drugs at all. Even drinking, like you just didn't really,
No,
that was not your thing.
Yeah, that was never a coping thing for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always like, I was like, because earlier today I was like, oh yeah, like you have had mental struggles because of that situation. Because I've always like seen you now as you low anxiety, you know, you don't really have issues with mood and you're just pretty mentally healthy. So, but I'm always like, oh yeah, you have had, you have seen into that world a little bit of mental struggles. Like what do you think was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Wow.
From not just the fact of getting divorced, but the experiencing those mental lows.
That it's temporary. That whatever you're experiencing is ultimately temporary.
True.
That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. It's hard to see 8 years as temporary. But
Right. Especially when you're in it. But looking back on it, I can say like, yeah, I learned that. Well, I could have another relationship, you know, and feel like I wanted to do that again, which for the longest time it felt like I never wanted to do that again.
Man, that's some rough shit. I really wish we could keep going on this, but it's just my fucking camera isn't the best. But yeah, I guess we're supposed to wrap it up here. This has been the official Eric Master interview. It was a banger. I say it's pretty good. It was awesome that we were able to have you on again. There's talk of some future plans, but we don't know. Maybe, possibly.
I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is awesome to know that guests really enjoy being on, because I always feel like I'm imposing by asking somebody, "Hey, do you want to be on my podcast?" It's like the classic, like, "Hey, you want to do my podcast?" But it's cool to know that guests really enjoy it. But yeah, that's all the YouTuber bullshit. Subscribe and support me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Peace.
See you next time.
Don't be afraid to care. Leave, don't leave me. Look around, choose your own ground.